I remember a late autumn afternoon when the phone rang as I sat in my wicker chair, bathed in golden sunlight. I knew it would be a call filled with gossip and complaints. Words meant more for my ears than for genuine sharing. For the first time in years, I let the phone ring. I chose peace over the crowd. After 75, we no longer need to be the social glue, nor do we need to attend every gathering to be remembered. It's time to live for ourselves, and these steady moments can be the beginning of a whole new perspective on happiness post-75. Today's video will be a gentle, slow journey filled with reflections and love. Together, we'll explore why, after 75, peace becomes more important than crowds. Why a day with a cup of tea and your favorite music can heal the soul better than dozens of meaningless meetings. Sit back, take a deep breath, and let your heart rest. Below, we'll begin the main content with real stories from those who are living in harmony with you. At 30, I couldn't say no to anyone. Every invitation, every phone call, every party, I tried to be there. Partly out of politeness, but mostly because I feared being left behind. But as I passed 70, things began to change. The gatherings that once excited me now left me exhausted. Words that once brought joy now felt empty. And then I realized I'd spent my whole life pleasing others. One comment stays with me. I'm 78. I used to keep in touch, send birthday cards, fear being forgotten. But now I choose peace. I don't need to strive anymore, and it's such a relief. That story is mine, and perhaps it's yours too. I used to feel burdened when a friend didn't reply to my messages or when I wasn't invited to a party. But now I ask myself, does it really matter? After 75, you have the right to choose. Choose the people you want around you. Choose conversations that soothe your heart instead of adding stress. A friend online wrote, I had to let go of a friend who never stopped talking during meals. I realized my stomach knotted every time I listened to her ramble. It may sound sad, but in reality, it's an act of self-love. You don't have to maintain friendships that make you withdraw. You don't have to fake a smile when you crave quiet. After 75, there's nothing left to prove. You no longer need to be accepted, because you've accepted yourself. I cherish my solitude and relive past moments that bring me joy. Sometimes I just talk to God and thank Him for being with me. When you stop seeking external validation, you begin to touch a deep space within, a place where you can be yourself without judgment or burden. And the strange thing is, when you stop trying to please others, you become the most authentic and lovable version of yourself to those who truly care. If you're still watching, please share. Have you ever lived to please someone? And when you let go, how did you feel? Comment below. Your story might inspire someone listening. One thing I've realized clearly after turning 75, silence isn't as scary as I once thought. In fact, it's in the days without company that I truly hear my own heart. There are mornings I wake up to birdsong in the garden. I don't rush to get dressed or worry about incoming calls. I make myself a cup of tea, sit on the porch, and let the morning sun warm my cheeks. That moment, no one around, no words spoken, is when I feel closest to life. I used to think that having no friends meant being forgotten. But now I understand. Peace isn't emptiness. It's a gift we need to learn to cherish. I once had many friends, parties, long phone calls, holiday visits. Back then, I thought that was happiness. But then I realized most of it was obligation, not choice. I'd been tired for so long without realizing it. One day, I decided to stop. I didn't answer the phone immediately. I didn't reply to messages right away. I started taking walks alone. At first, it felt awkward. But after a few days, I began to enjoy it. I listened to the wind. I noticed flowers I'd never seen before. I felt my own breath as I walked. And I felt light. I started loving those moments. No interruptions, no demands, no need to be anyone but myself. I know someone watching this video might feel lonely. But I hope you understand, loneliness is temporary. Peace is a choice. And you deserve to choose that. Allow yourself to enjoy these days not as the end of a journey, but as the beginning of a different way of living, deeper, gentler, and full of self-appreciation. After 75, each morning we wake up is different. Time becomes more precious than gold, and every moment we have isn't to be filled with appointments, but to slow down and listen to ourselves. There's a saying I always remember, when you're young, you think you have time. When you grow old, you realize time is the most precious thing. At 50, I was still chasing schedules. At 60, I was still busy with responsibilities. But entering 75, I looked at my calendar and started crossing out things that were no longer necessary. Gatherings I didn't want to attend, calls that drained me, trips made more for others than myself. I began to choose more carefully. Who do I want to spend time with? What makes me happy and lighthearted? What activities make me feel alive, not just existing? I remember an old friend who used to call me every morning just to complain. I politely listened for a while, but then I realized, after each call I was exhausted, my spirit drained. And then I understood. I was spending my precious hours on something that brought nothing but fatigue. One day I didn't pick up. Then another day. I didn't feel guilty. I felt relieved. For the first time in years, I spent that morning walking in the park, watching the leaves change, listening to birds sing, and felt alive. An elderly viewer once shared, "I don't have much time left, so why waste it on people who don't truly care about me? I want to use the rest to read, to laugh, to sit with myself and enjoy a peaceful cup of coffee." And I understand that. We, who have traveled almost the entire journey, have the right to keep our time for ourselves. It's not selfishness, it's valuing what's irreplaceable. Someone once asked me, "After 75, don't you feel bored not socializing much?" I smiled and replied, "No, because for the first time in my life, I own my time. I'm no longer rushed, no longer in a hurry. I can sit for hours listening to the wind, reminiscing old memories, or just being silent." A day has 24 hours. And you can spend it all on yourself if you wish. You can choose to reread your favorite book, write a few lines in your journal, garden, or just sit and watch the rain. Nothing is trivial, if it brings peace to your soul. I used to fear being forgotten if I didn't show up. But now I know. The most valuable presence isn't in others' hearts. I used to fear being forgotten if I didn't show up. But now I know. The most valuable presence isn't in others' hearts, but in your own soul. Sometimes, what we need most isn't more to do, but more room to breathe. So we can return to ourselves, gently tend to the parts that still ache, smile at the memories that once hurt, and feel grateful, just for being here, now. Are you letting time slip away on things that drain you? Or have you learned to keep those precious moments for yourself? Please share in the comments below, because your story might be the gentle wake-up call someone out there truly needs. And if you see yourself in these words, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, so we can keep walking this soft, healing journey together. I used to know so many people. During the holidays, my greeting card list spanned pages. I called it my social circle, and I was proud of it. But the older I got, the more I realized something simple. Knowing many people doesn't mean you're deeply connected. Some conversations went on for hours, but left me feeling empty. Some gatherings were packed with people, but I still felt alone in the crowd. On the other hand, sometimes just one message from an old friend or a quiet handshake was enough to fill my heart. At 75, you don't need a room full of people. You just need a few who truly understand you. The kind of people you can sit in silence with, without it feeling awkward. The ones who remember your birthday without a Facebook reminder. The ones who know you prefer tea over coffee and that you feel most at peace sitting by the window. I remember once I called an old friend after years of silence. I didn't expect much, but when she picked up, her voice was warm, familiar, as if no time had passed. We didn't talk long, just a few small updates. But after that call, I sat still for a while and cried, not from sadness, but from a quiet joy. Because I realized we were still there for each other, in a soft, peaceful way. True friendship doesn't have to be loud. It doesn't mean meeting every week or calling every day. Sometimes, just knowing that someone out there thinks of you with quiet affection, that's more than enough. After 75, what I've learned is this. You don't need to force every relationship to stay. The people who truly matter will find a way to stay connected. And if a friendship makes you feel tense or exhausted, maybe it's time to let it go. Gently. Choose fewer but deeper connections. Choose quality over quantity. Choose the relationships where you can be your true self. Not a version of you that's pleasing someone else. Because your time now is precious, and your heart deserves rest, in truth and sincerity. Remember, you're not lonely because you have fewer friends. You're simply making space for the meaningful ones to grow. And sometimes the most important friendship is the one you build with yourself. Are you holding on to a deep friendship today? Has someone stayed with you through the seasons of your life? Or have you learned to gently let go of a connection that wore you down? Share in the comments, because your story might be the kind encouragement someone needs as they choose to build kinder connections. Dear friend, one of the greatest gifts that age gives us is the ability to befriend ourselves. After all the conversations go quiet, after all the parties fade, after everyone scatters to their own lives, who are you left with? The answer is soft but powerful. You. When I was younger, I feared time alone. I feared silence. I feared having no one around. But as the years passed, I came to understand. The most precious companionship is with yourself, and no one can replace that. Being your own friend isn't just about being alone. It's learning to understand yourself, to accept yourself, to forgive and love yourself through both bright and cloudy days. It's when you can sit in silence for hours and feel peace, not sadness. When you sip tea and smile at an old memory, and your heart feels lighter. A woman once shared on YouTube, "I'm 87. I've lived alone since my husband passed away. It was hard at first, but I learned to talk to myself with kindness. Each morning I ask, what do you need today to feel lighter? And I listen for the answer inside." Being your own friend means you stop blaming the past. You stop chasing someone else's idea of who you should be. Instead, you hold your journey gently and love the imperfect, evolving version of yourself. I often take a few minutes each day to write a note to myself. It's nothing fancy, just something like, "I felt tired today, but I'm proud of myself for being patient." Or, "I miss my old friend, but I know that friendship had its time." Writing for myself, talking to myself, smiling at myself, soothing myself. It's how I've healed through loss, because if I'm not kind to myself, then who will be? I once had a neighbor, 80 years old, who lived alone with a small garden in her backyard. Each morning, she'd water her plants, cut fresh flowers, and whisper to her vegetable beds as if they were lifelong friends. I asked her once, "Don't you feel lonely?" She smiled and said, "No, I have myself, and I'm the best friend I've ever had." The friendship we build with ourselves is something to be nurtured each day. No one teaches us that when we're young, but old age, with all its slowness and quiet, gives us the most natural opportunity to learn it. You can begin with small things. Take a walk without music, just to hear the sound of your thoughts. Eat lunch slowly, savoring every bite. Ask yourself gently, "How do I feel today?" And really listen. Don't brush it aside. And you'll discover, in that simplicity, a whole world of softness waiting to be explored. A world where you don't need to pretend, don't need to force a smile, don't need to prove anything. A world where you get to be you, free and deeply loved by the only person who truly sees it all, yourself. If you're still here with me, watching until now, maybe you're like me, someone moving through quieter, slower days. Days where you don't need to rush, don't need to impress anyone, don't need to chase anything except the whispers of your own heart. I'm 80 years old, and I'm writing this after a soft morning. I brewed a cup of chamomile tea, sat on my old porch chair, listened to birds in the distance, and smelled sunlight on the leaves. Life is truly quiet now. But not the kind of quiet that feels lonely. It's the kind of quiet that makes you grateful. Grateful to still taste tea. Grateful to still walk slowly through the garden. Grateful to still see the bloom of a flower. But above all, grateful to have learned how to live in peace. With fewer friends, fewer conversations, but so much more love for myself. You see, at this age, we no longer need to chase the crowd. We don't need new connections to prove our worth. Peace doesn't come from the number of people around you. It comes from the depth of your inner world. There was a time when I feared the silence, feared not getting calls, not being invited out, not being checked on. But I've come to see that absence isn't always loss. Sometimes it's space. A sacred space for you to return to yourself. I began rereading books I once shelved in my youth. I cooked simple meals I loved. I wrote handwritten letters, not to anyone, but to the past versions of myself. And you know what? I stopped feeling alone. I started feeling enough, full, soft, peaceful. So if you're 75 or 80, or if your heart just feels tired of keeping up with the noise, please allow yourself to step back. Choose peace, choose simplicity, choose you. Because in that sacred stillness, you'll begin to hear the most delicate sounds, the whisper of your soul, the soft patter of old memories, and the quiet gratitude that warms the entire heart. If you've ever felt these things, or if a thought has surfaced while listening, share it in the comments. We read every word you write, like a soft conversation between people who understand, even without saying much. And if this kind of video makes your heart feel lighter, please hit subscribe so each week we can meet again, in these gentle corners of life, where you are always seen, always valued, and always welcomed just as you are. Until next time, wishing you a soft and beautiful day.